is, other than the Labrador up here, which is on a 2-point harness, which is my preference. If your dog doesn't walk nicely just on a collar and lead, which, you know, I like a collar and lead, but just as much I like a 2-point harness, which will help. But if you look at these bottom 3 dogs, one's on a harness, these 2 are on collars and leads. But if you look at their whole body language, not so much with the Doberman, but if he was to pull a bit further forward, you're going to see this kind of body language, even though the strap's across his chest. So if you imagine what another dog would be seeing if it saw that dog square on, from what you've learned so far about body language, what you should see is that that is quite a threatening gesture. All that energy on all that weight placement is forward. And if you think about it, I tried to find a picture of a pub brawl as in for humans, to try and force this point home, but to try and get the right picture was a bit of a nightmare. So the way that I always think about it is if you imagine kind of 2 blokes, you know, two sets of blokes with their mates in a pub, and everyone's had a few drinks, and one makes a comment towards the other. You know, one takes offence, and they're all squaring up to kind of fisticuffs. What you usually find is that the mates, you know, the mates that they're with, will pull the fighting one back by their shoulders and their arms. And what you usually find is that their whole chest is being brought forward, their chin, they're pulling against it, trying to get to the other person. And this makes them look bigger and more aggressive. And it's very much it's the same with the dogs when they're pulling into equipment when faced with other dogs. Now, just because our dogs are pulling into it doesn't mean that they are trying to be aggressive, but that's just the impression that they're giving to any other dogs approaching. This is one of the reasons why dogs meeting on lead, I try and avoid as much as possible. Yes, there is a way to train it, and yes, there are things that I can give you to help you with that, but I certainly do try and avoid letting dogs meet on lead when there is tension in there. And it's really hard because when we come across another dog, quite often we'll tense up and want a short lead, which will then put more pressure on the dog. So my best advice is if, for example, you get caught short and you're coming around a corner and then all of a sudden the dogs are like in each other's faces before you've even known about it, is to kind of walk into that lead, so give them some slack, because you putting that pressure on while they're interacting is giving the wrong impression, and you're making it more likely that something's going to go wrong. So it's a case of, yep, they just made us both jump coming around that corner, but let's just give them some lead and breathe. Because having that equipment and that tension into it is just giving the wrong body language, and we're not helping with that.